got an opportunity to see the northern lights last night in north central Texas, and really your experience differed depending on your location. This is a picture that I took here in the North Grove part of Waxahachie. You can see just that very faint look of pink, and it was even harder to see with the naked eye. The phones tend to pick up the shades a little bit better, but this is Waxahachie. You see all of the light pollution here from the Metroplex. You get farther out from the Metroplex, though, in Itasca. Emily got a great picture of that yellow, that pink hue there in the sky, and really just a beautiful, beautiful shot. And we had no clouds last night. Now today you may notice a few clouds out there, really not much going on across the area. You can see that they're trying to make their way into our area, but they're just kind of hitting a wall. It's all that dry air. So if there are any sprinkles in this, number one, they're struggling to reach the ground anyway, and two, probably not going to reach our area. So today I do think that we will warm into the low to mid 90s here, 93, 94 degrees for us, and overnight we'll stay generally cool, 65 to 66 degrees thanks to the low humidity out there. So still comfortable evenings and mornings, but we are getting pretty warm in the afternoons, and we will get warm before we start to tumble again. Now, for our records today, still no triple digits, although we did get close in 1979 at DFW, Waco 97, right back in 2020, and then our norms, we are in the low 80s. So that's where we should be. We'll get just below that, and then we should be hanging out in the 80s for a while. In that forecast, our allergy forecast, we're about the same as we've been. Juniper, ragweed, we're in that medium to high range. So I want to talk about the tropics here. Not much going on, but that's part of the conversation. We have the remnants of Milton here off the East Coast. And you've probably seen all of these posts talking about the fact that there's another storm brewing in the Gulf. There's nothing here, nothing in the Caribbean, nothing in the Gulf of Mexico. The only other two things we have that the National Hurricane Center is even watching, one is Tropical Storm Leslie, which is out in the middle of the Atlantic Basin. And then there is this one right off the west coast of Africa here, where we could see that develop over the next few days into a tropical depression, tropical storm. It's way out there, though, and really the track looks to take it out into the water, and if this whole trend continues, it will simply go right back out into the water, into the open Atlantic Basin, and not do anything for us. So there's nothing pressing at the moment. So when you see the hype artists on Facebook talking about another storm headed towards the Gulf Coast, just ignore it. Follow trusted sources as usual. So let's talk about the big picture here. This is the fun part of the forecast here. A couple of things I want to talk about. First is the cool air north of us that will be making its way south. As we get into the next couple of days, we'll start to see this cooler air get a push and start making its way, and will arrive on Monday. Now, the coolest air will lag a little bit behind. So Monday, after we have a weekend in the mid-90s, Monday, we will be looking at temperatures probably in the mid-80s, and then Tuesday morning, lows in the 50s. So that's when we'll really start to feel the big change there. A couple of days in the 70s, and then we're back in the 80s after that. But after that point, as we get closer to the end of next week, really interesting things start to happen in the weather models. They show a low pressure system diving into the desert southwest, and this is the kind of thing we try to watch for. We like to see these systems dive into the desert southwest and then eject. That usually brings in a cold front and brings some rain. So that's what we're watching here. And the latest runs of the GFS model here, and I'm watching some other runs here to see how subsequent models handle it, but it has a low pressure system dropping into the desert southwest here and then hanging out and just kind of sitting there for a little while. If that happens, that could send more substantial rain our way. Maybe it'll hang out a little bit and we'll get more than one day of decent rain here. Now, I will say that the Climate Prediction Center has given us an update on their outlook, and this tends to be here and there. They're kind of give and take. Sometimes they work out and they really forecast something. Sometimes I'm looking at them going, I don't know what you guys are dealing with, but this, which I believe was updated yesterday, does seem to kind of go in line with what these models are starting to show. They do favor West Texas, as the model does, for more prevalent rain. We will see what this does over the next couple of days when we start to get a better idea of what model consensus is there. It's got to get in range of a few of those other models here, but you notice this line, we're kind of right on that. So that doesn't mean we won't get any rain, but it does mean that West Texas, at least for now, is favored. But you can see the pattern here as it generally kind of wraps around a low pressure system there. that track will probably change as we get farther in those models. So we're just going to have to watch and wait and see. So I will be monitoring that for you and bringing updates as we get them. But for now, we are focused on the cooler air. Unfortunately, we do have a warm weekend on tap. 93 today, 94 tomorrow, 95 on Sunday. So we're just creeping up and up. And the good news is it's going to be a dry heat. And we joke about that all the time, but it does make a difference when you don't have to deal with the kind of heat index values that we sometimes have to put up with in the summer. So just consider that it will be warm, but it won't be oppressively warm like it has been over the summer. Now, if you're going to a football game tonight, we will be cooling off fairly quickly after sunset. Let's see, sunset tonight, right around kickoff, right around 7 o'clock there. So we will be cooling off. We'll be in the mid to upper 80s there with a northeast wind of about 7 to 8 miles per hour and a few clouds up there, but really mostly sunny. So let's take a look at the forecast here. Warm weekend. Cold front arrives on Monday. The winds shift to the north, but the cooler air waits a little bit. So 85 Monday, 57 for your low Monday night into Tuesday morning. We get to 70s for a couple of days. Now, we were talking last week about how we were yesterday rather, we were a little unsure of how long this was going to hang around. I think we're right around 80 on Thursday, maybe a little bit more. We will, again, have drier air, so we will be able to heat pretty efficiently there. So we will warm up into the 80s, but the good news is I don't think that we have the support in place to get back to the 90s, at least anytime soon. So 80s should be kind of our new norm. So it does look like, again, in the models that we have a more active period coming, and that should make it more difficult for us to get into the 90s. You combine that with the fact that the days are getting shorter and fall weather should be a little easier to get used to and kind of make into a fall pattern here across north central Texas. Of course, this forecast takes us to the 17th of October. That latter half of October, usually we have better luck bringing the temperatures down and hopefully bringing some rain in. So stay tuned. We have warmer air coming in, cooler air. We have warmer air this weekend, but we have cooler air coming in early next week, and then we might have rain coming in on the far end of the forecast.